touchdown.
Great team win, baby!
Lobs it way downfield, intercepted, coming forward and making the INT for the Colts in the back end.
To see the Colts win Super Bowl.
Hey, win on three! 1, 2, 3, win!
Welcome to another episode of For the COLTure Cast. I'm your host, Marcus Sniffles, and we're here to talk about the uneventful, terrible preseason Week 2 game where the Colts got blasted by the Falcons 34-6. This was just one of those games where you just hope everybody forgets it. Like, nobody did themselves any favors in this game. Nobody showed out. No one played well. No one made a name for themselves in a positive way in this game. And it's just going to be one of those games where you watch the tape and then you burn it right afterwards. It's like there was little to nothing positive to take away from this. The main things that I was looking for, obviously, was watching the quarterback 2 battle. Riley Leonard didn't do much. Like, if we're going to compare his first half compared to Anthony's first half in Week 1, if we're just going by those two games, Anthony is clearly in the lead. But, like, this game just kind of showed the lack of depth this team has. Like, running the ball, pass protection, pass coverage, run blocking, run defense, everything. There was just nothing really good about this game on either side of the ball. So I think right now Anthony Richardson is in the pole position to be quarterback 2. Yeah, it was just a bad game. And there's not really much to talk about when it comes to this game, but I did kind of want to talk about Chris Ballard. So Chris Ballard did an interview with Chris Sims, and it was about, a regular length interview. And there was a few things that kind of stuck out to me about what he was saying and what they were talking about. And it just got me to thinking about some things. One of the things that he mentioned was that, like, Daniel Jones, in terms of explosiveness when it comes to running the ball, is about at 85% when it comes to, like, being fully ready to go. And I'm not going to lie, that makes me a little bit nervous because, yeah, it's cool to look good in joint practices and regular practices. But if you're still 85% come Week 1 playing against the Ravens, if I'm the Ravens defensive coordinator, I am putting all the pressure on Daniel Jones and I'm testing that Achilles all game long. I'm making it a point to have Daniel prove to me that you can move on that foot. And that's what they're going to do. The NFL is a ruthless business. They're not just going to, drop back everybody and just pass rush you with 3 or 4. They're going to blitz and send pressure all day long unless you show them that you can do something about it. I mean, obviously getting the ball out quick is an alternative to that. But if you can't get the ball out quick, can you move around? Can you buy some time? And if you can't, it's going to be a long day. So, yeah, he looks good in practice. Yeah, he looks good in training camp. Yes, he's going to start Week 1. But if he's not 100% coming off this Achilles, it's going to show. And it'll show quick. Another thing that Chris Ballard talked about when talking with Chris Sims is how teams, general managers, coaches, they just need to be more patient when it comes to developing players. And you don't want to rush to move on from certain players because, you rush on from them and someone else picks them up and then they develop into a capable, productive player, which I think we're going to see that with A.D. Mitchell. I think him being traded as soon as he was, like, I feel like we would look at our offense totally different if Alec Pierce was wide receiver 1, A.D. Mitchell, Tyler Warren, and Josh Downs. If that was our wide receiver, if that was our receiving core, we would feel so much better about that. Like, even though I think Keenan Allen's going to fit in nicely, A.D. Mitchell is just an explosive athlete also, and he can make plays. And I think in a vacuum, you would rather have him than Keenan Allen, but I would rather have Sauce Gardner than A.D. Mitchell, if that makes sense. So I think that's kind of a little bit of Chris Ballard speaking out of both sides of his mouth, and I feel like that kind of goes hand in hand with Anthony Richardson, because he even spoke on the idea of him being a young player that wasn't developed yet. And even with knowing that, they still played him. They still were like, yeah, you're going to start Week 1. there was no, it just doesn't feel like there was a development plan, and they didn't know what they were doing. They're just like, okay, well, we're going to do the same thing we did with Andrew Luck. You know, we're going to treat you like Matt Ryan. We're going to treat you like all the other rookie quarterbacks that just came in and started day one and just hit the ground running. Like, a lot of these other quarterbacks had a lot more experience, a lot more playing time in college, and Anthony didn't have that. And for Chris Ballard to kind of be 10 years in and still and just now figuring that out is kind of, it's a bit frustrating. It's just like, what could have been? Because now you're starting to see the development happen with Anthony. You're starting to see him look a little bit better, make more accurate throws. I don't want to get too much into the things that I think went wrong in Anthony's career here in Indianapolis, because I do think if he's not, I don't think he's going to get traded this year, but I do not think he's going to be on the team past this year. And when he inevitably moves on, I do want to make a video kind of in retrospect about what could have been and the mistakes that he made, that the general manager made, that the coach made, that everybody made. I do want to speak on that, but we're not going to do that right now. What I want to talk about is when I was watching him talk about these things, I got to thinking, what would Chris Ballard have to do for fans to be okay with bringing him back, with him getting a contract extension, with him getting a new deal? Like, obviously, there's a section of the fan base that we could go 17-0, dominate in the playoffs, win the Super Bowl, and they would still want him fired, or they would not want him back. Like, they do not want him in charge anymore. And there's another group that's like, oh well, he got a bad hand with Andrew Luck, or he was forced to draft Anthony Richardson or whatever. And they and this is a small group of Colts fans, but there is a sector of Colts fans that they want him back. I'm kind of right now, I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, I don't really want him to leave, because I feel like if he leaves, then we have to get rid of Shane Steichen. And if we get rid of Shane Steichen, we got to get rid of Lou Anarumo, and we just have to start everything all over again. And I would prefer to keep Shane and Lou, because I like the way our defense is building. I like Shane Steichen as a play caller, as an offensive mind. I like the things that he is doing. But I would also like to have a general manager that can find and develop and target the right quarterbacks to bring into this team. And I don't know if Chris Ballard's that guy. And at some point, you've been here 10 years. You haven't won a division once. The Jags have won it multiple times. The Titans have won it multiple times. The Texans have won it multiple times. The Texans have won multiple playoff games. Same with the Jags. And what at some point, you got to show something. You got to prove something with the players that you develop. And that was on display in this preseason game, where the lack of depth was fully on notice, where it's just like, oh, we don't have a lot of good players, a lot of backups. We have a lot of good starters, high-end quality starters. But if one of our receivers goes down, one of our cornerbacks goes down, one of our defensive ends or offensive linemen, this team is screwed. So some of the things that I think has to happen for me to be fine with Carly Ursay-Gordon bringing Chris Ballard back, for giving him a contract extension, because it's not going to be a 1-year deal. It's going to be another 4 to 5 year deal if he has some type of success. But some of the things that I would like to see is this draft class produce at a high level. I'm talking more so CJ Allen, AJ Halsey, Brian Betcher. Like, those guys need to be, one of those guys needs to be in conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year, or even a Pro Bowler. Like, I'm not saying they got to be, the best of the best, but there needs to be a conversation about, oh, this guy is making a huge impact. This guy could make the Pro Bowl. Oh, this guy, we're talking about him. People are rating these players highly. They're like, well, the Colts got a steal by getting AJ Halsey in the 3rd round. How did he fall that far? Look at what he's doing on the field. Same with Bryce. Same with CJ. Like, one of these rookies needs to do something. The next thing that I think Chris Ballard has to do, or that the team has to do, is Travarius Ward and Sauce Gardner absolutely must be a top 5 cornerback duo. You paid a lot of money to Travarius Ward. You gave up a lot of draft capital and a good player to get Sauce Gardner. if this experiment fails, you cannot be brought back, because not only did you waste money, you gave up draft capital, good draft capital. If that experiment just blows up in our face, you can't come back. You just can't. And if it works and we have a top 5 cornerback duo, we're good to go. Like, that changes the entire scheme. That changes the entire defense. The next thing that needs to happen is JT Tuimoloau. You've got to be productive this season. Like, it doesn't look like you're going to be a starter, but you have to be a rotational piece. And the thing that's frustrating about JT's lack of production is 6 picks later, the Carolina Panthers selected Nick Scorton, and he's a defensive end. He had 5 sacks last season. JT has 0. That's a bad look. Another person that you could have drafted is outproducing the person that you did draft. That's a red flag, because that happens multiple times, multiple seasons. And the last thing and this, I don't know how fair it is to hold Chris Ballard on this, but Daniel Jones has to play well this season. Like, he has to kind of play the way he was playing the first 8-9 weeks of the season. Like, when people were talking about him being an MVP candidate, us having one of the best offenses of all time, Daniel Jones has to play well. Now, to be fair to Chris Ballard on that, he had to sign Daniel Jones. There was no way to justify to the team, to the owner, to the fans to say, and even though I was one of the people who was fine with moving on from Daniel Jones, I don't think you could justify saying, hey, we're not going to bring him back. And credit to Chris Ballard, he got a good, fair contract that if Daniel Jones sucks this season, we can easily move on and get off of that contract. And if he's good, we can just, everything is going to be restarted. Chris Ballard will get a new deal. Daniel Jones will get a new deal. Shane Steichen will probably get an extension. And we'll just have to run this thing back again, the next season. But like I said, this draft class has to produce. Sauce Gardner and Travarius Ward have to be a top 5 duo. JT Tuimoloau has to be productive, and Daniel Jones has to play well. Those are the things that I need to see to be fine with Carl Gordon bringing Chris Ballard back for another season as the general manager for the Indianapolis Colts. Those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Are you one of those people who are just like, I don't care what they do, just get Chris Ballard out of here completely? Or is there something that he could do to change your mind? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one. Go Colts.